You're nothing without me, Ivy. Don't forget that. You're lucky I'm putting up with you. Blake spat, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. His eyes were cold, lips curling in disdain as he looked at me from across the dining table. I could feel the heat rising to my cheeks. I clenched my fists under the table to keep from trembling. This wasn't the first time Blake belittled me, but tonight was different. There was nothing left of the man I had married, only this stranger who thrived on crushing my spirit. His high-paying job made him think he was king of our household, and I was just a serf. I'm doing my best, I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. My freelance work is going well. I just landed a new client today. A new client? Blake laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. Your freelance project is a cute little hobby, Ivy. Don't forget whose salary actually pays the bills around here. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. Graphic design, he sneered as if the very words were beneath him. What would you even do without me? You'd be penniless. Remember that. I felt my frustration bubbling over. This wasn't about the bills or money. It was about respect, something Blake seemed to have forgotten. Blake, this is important to me. It's a real job, even if you don't see it that way. I'm contributing, too. Blake's expression hardened. You're contributing nothing but headaches. I manage the finances. I make the tough decisions. You play on your computer. There's a big difference. The air felt thick with unspoken anger. He always managed our money, giving me just enough to get by. Even groceries felt like an uphill battle. But despite the control, I had been putting money aside little by little without Blake knowing. Blake stood up abruptly. I'm done with this conversation. His tone was final, absolute, meant to put me back in my place. Clean up the kitchen. I'm going to bed. As he walked away, I could feel the tears welling up, but I swallowed them back. Not tonight. I wouldn't let him see me break. Not again. In the quiet of the kitchen, I scrubbed the dishes with more force than necessary, trying to wash away the frustration clinging to me. Later, I sat at my small desk in the living room, my computer screen glowing softly. Blake's words echoed in my mind, but they fueled something new within me. Not fear. Not sadness. Determination. Sophie's text notification popped up on my phone. How's it going tonight? I hesitated, but replied truthfully. Same old. Can we talk tomorrow? Of course. Anytime. He was my lifeline, the one person who saw through Blake's facade and encouraged me to stand up for myself. I took a deep breath and opened my project files. Seeing the colorful, creative work in progress was like a balm to my wounded pride. This was mine. This was my future. Blake's condescending laughter still rang in my ears, but I focused on the design before me, vowing silently that I wouldn't let his words define my worth. I would prove him wrong. This fight wasn't over, not by a long shot. With renewed determination, I began working on my project, each click of the mouse a step towards reclaiming my life from Blake's shadow. The next morning, the smell of coffee greeted me as I entered the kitchen. Blake sat at the table, his head buried in the morning paper. He didn't even look up as I poured myself a cup. Don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning, he said, his tone authoritative. And we need to talk about your spending. You've been going over budget on groceries again. I bit back my retort. It seemed everything I did was wrong in his eyes. Sure, I'll take care of it, I muttered, grabbing my coffee and heading for the door. Outside, the crisp air was a relief from the stifling tension inside. I made my way to Sophie's place across the street, grateful for the brief escape. She opened the door almost immediately, a concerned look on her face. Morning, Ivy. You okay? Sophie asked, ushering me inside. I sank into her comfy couch, finally able to breathe. Same old, I said, shrugging. Blake had another meltdown over money this morning. Sophie shook her head, handing me a steaming mug of tea. You deserve better than this, Ivy. You're talented and hard-working. Have you thought about setting up a separate account? Something he can't touch? A glimmer of hope sparked inside me. Actually, I already have one. I've been saving what I can from my freelance earnings. It's not much, but it's something. Sophie's eyes lit up. See? You're already making moves. Just keep building on that. You need to be ready for anything. I nodded, feeling a renewed sense of determination. Thanks, Sophie. I don't know what I'd do without you. She gripped my hand reassuringly. You're stronger than you think, Ivy. Just keep pushing forward. Back home, I sat at my computer, diving into work. The project flowed effortlessly, my client's excitement contagious. But it wasn't long before Blake's looming presence interrupted my focus. "Ivy, come here," he barked from the living room. I hurried over, feeling my stomach knot. Blake was standing, arms crossed. "I looked through our finances. We're tight this month. You've been spending too much again." "That's not fair," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. "Prices have gone up. I'm doing the best I can with what you give me." His eyes flashed with anger. "You always have an excuse that maybe if you focused less on your art and more on running this household, we wouldn't have these problems." I said nothing, my jaw clenched tight. Any response would only escalate the situation. Blake sighed in exasperation. "Just be more careful, okay? I'm tired of having this conversation." I nodded, turning away before he could see the tears threatening to spill over. Back at my desk, I forced myself to focus on my work again, using the creative process as a sanctuary from his relentless criticism. Later, as I stepped out to run errands, I found myself crossing paths with Vanessa, Blake's colleague. She flashed me a polite smile, seemingly unaware of the storm brewing in my marriage. Little did she know, she was part of it. At the grocery store, I carefully budgeted with the meager amount Blake allowed. The cashier's sympathetic smile felt like a small comfort in a sea of frustration. As I loaded the bags into my car, my phone buzzed. Another client inquiry. Small victories, I thought, starting the engine and heading home. The day passed in the same tense rhythm. By nightfall, the house was silent, Blake already asleep. I stood at the window, looking out at the darkened street. Sophie's encouraging words echoed in my mind. Just keep pushing forward. Taking a deep breath, I returned to my desk, immersing myself in my work. I was building something that was mine and mine alone, steadily chipping away at the chains Blake had wrapped around my life. This was just the beginning. "Can you please make sure dinner is ready by 6? Blake called out from the living room, his voice dripping with entitlement. I took a deep breath, pausing my work to answer him. "Sure, Blake. I'll start cooking in a bit." "Better be on time this time," he muttered, barely loud enough to hear. I gritted my teeth, pushing down the surge of irritation. Later at Sophie's place, I shared my struggle with her. "I can't keep living like this. He's relentless, Sophie." "Why don't you take on more freelance projects?" she suggested over a cup of coffee. "Save more money. Build a safety net." I nodded, the idea growing roots in my mind. I'm already taking as many as I can handle without him noticing. But you're right. I need more. "Sophie," I leaned closer. "There's something else. I think Blake's having an affair." Her eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "Not yet," I admitted. "But I found a hotel receipt in his jacket. I need more evidence." Sophie squeezed my hand. "Be careful, Ivy, but you deserve to know the truth." Back at home, I waited for Blake to leave for work the next morning. As soon as he was out the door, I rummaged through his things, finding nothing substantial. Frustrated, I decided to bide my time, watching for more clues. Days later, I found what I was looking for. Another receipt, this time from an expensive restaurant, slipped from his briefcase. My heart sank, but I kept my face neutral. That night, I didn't say a word about it. Instead, I focused on work and took on more projects, each completed job bringing me a bit closer to independence. My secret savings grew steadily, despite Blake's constant attempts to undermine my confidence. About a week later, an opportunity presented itself. Blake was called out on a late-night work emergency. Realizing my chance, I searched through his jacket pockets again, finding a forgotten note with Vanessa's name and phone number. I snapped a picture of it with my phone, my suspicions solidifying into certainty. That weekend, Blake announced he had a late meeting with a client. "Don't wait up," he said, grabbing his keys. The air was thick with unspoken tension. I watched him walk out, a mixture of anger and resolve bubbling inside me. I waited half an hour before making a call to the hotel he had visited. "Hello, I'm looking for Blake Parker's room," I said, masking my voice's tremble. "Blake Parker is staying in room 204? The receptionist confirmed cheerfully. There it was, the confirmation I dreaded and yet needed to hear. As I hung up, my phone buzzed with a message from Sophie. "You okay? Do you need anything?" "I'm good, thanks," I replied, the weight of my discovery pressing down on me. Blake returned late, reeking of guilt and expensive cologne. I bit back the urge to confront him, knowing I needed to be strategic. Patience would serve me better now. Instead, I continued my routine, recording his verbal abuse and keeping track of every shifty move. My carefully curated evidence grew piece by piece. One final straw would snap the fragile thread of my tolerance. At Sophie's suggestion, I began networking more aggressively, boosting my freelance profile. I dove into my work with renewed energy, each completed project a symbol of my found strength. The pieces were falling into place. Blake's arrogance blinded him to the gradual shift in our dynamic. I was no longer trapped. I was preparing to break free, and when the time came, there would be no turning back. I sat across from Sophie, a pile of design mock-ups between us. "These are looking fantastic, Ivy," she said, flipping through the pages. "You think you can take on more clients?" I nodded, determined. "Definitely. I need as many projects as I can get." "Good," Sophie said, smiling. "Let's get you connected with some of my contacts." They're always looking for quality designers. Over the next few weeks, Sophie and I worked tirelessly to enhance my portfolio and network with new clients. Every small success was a victory, boosting my confidence. My savings grew steadily as Blake remained blissfully unaware of my plans. One night, as I worked late on a project, Blake hovered behind me, watching silently. Suspicious but unsure, he finally broke his silence. "What are you doing, Ivy?" "Just finishing a freelance project," I replied calmly, keeping my eyes on the screen. Blake scoffed. "You and these little projects. Make sure you're not neglecting your responsibilities around here." "I'm not," I said firmly. "This work is important to me." He sighed, shaking his head. "Just don't let it interfere with the household. You need to prioritize better." Tension cranked up a notch, but I continued undeterred, knowing I was building towards something bigger. Meanwhile, Blake's behavior grew more erratic. He constantly checked on me, his suspicion fueling a toxic atmosphere at home. One evening, after a particularly heated argument over money, I knew I had to act faster. "Sophie, I need your help," I said, my voice shaky as I explained the latest confrontation. "We'll get you through this, Ivy," she reassured, holding my hand. "Focus on gathering all the evidence you need. I'll help you however I can." The next day, I decided to install a small camera in the living room, discreetly hidden among the books on the shelf. It was my insurance, my means of capturing his aggression and painting the true picture of our life together. As Blake continued his escapades with Vanessa, leaving little clues here and there, I collected each piece methodically. The recordings piled up, his scathing remarks, his controlling behavior, his blatant disrespect. One night, I reviewed the footage alone at my desk. Blake's voice filled the room, laced with contempt. "You're worthless, Ivy. Without me, you're nothing." The words stung, but they also fortified my resolve. Days later, Blake left his laptop open as he took a call in another room. Heart-pounding, I seized the opportunity, quickly accessing his email. There it was, a string of messages with Vanessa, detailing their meetings and expenses. I copied everything, making sure to leave no trace. After he left for work the following morning, I met Sophie in my kitchen. "I've got it all," I said quietly, showing her the evidence. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through the emails. "This is enough, Ivy. You can confront him now. You've got everything you need." I nodded, bracing myself. "I just need to time it right, when he's least expecting it." That evening, Blake arrived home in a foul mood, grumbling about work. "Dinner ready?" he barked. "It's almost done," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. As we sat down to eat, I watched him carefully, feeling a strange mix of fear and empowerment. Soon, I would confront him, and this charade would end. I had built my case, strengthened my position, and was ready to reclaim my life. With every bite, I steeled my nerves, knowing the moment of truth was fast approaching. The game was nearly over, and this time, I would emerge victorious. Blake stormed through the front door, slamming it behind him. "Ivy, we need to talk," he shouted. I looked up from the kitchen table, where I had been working on my latest freelance project. This was it, the moment I had been preparing for. "What is it, Blake?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He threw his briefcase onto the couch, glaring at me. "I want you to quit your freelance work. It's taking up too much of your time. You need to be focused on this household, not your silly hobby." My heart pounded, but I stood my ground. "Blake, my work is important. It's not just a hobby. I'm contributing to our finances, and it brings me fulfillment." his face contorted with rage. You call this contributing? What you do is insignificant compared to what I bring in. You need to understand your place, Ivy. Something inside me snapped. I reached for the folder I had prepared, my hands surprisingly steady. Blake, sit down. We need to talk. He looked taken aback, but his arrogance only deepened. This better be quick, he muttered, sitting down. I placed the folder in front of him. Open it, I said. Blake's eyes scanned the documents, printed emails, hotel receipts, financial records. His face turned pale. What is this? He growled, trying to cover his shock. This, I said calmly, is proof of your infidelity and mismanagement of our finances. I've had enough, Blake. I'm done being your doormat. His shock turned to fury. You think this little file is going to scare me, Ivy? You're delusional. Do you honestly believe you can survive without me? I've already started, I replied, my voice gaining strength. I have my savings, a growing client base, and support from people who actually respect me. Blake's eyes narrowed, and he stood up abruptly, leaning over the table. You think you can just walk away from this marriage? I'll make sure you get nothing. You hear me? Nothing. I met his gaze, unflinching. I have enough evidence to ensure you won't be able to control everything anymore. And guess what? I want a separation. He scoffed, shaking his head. Fine, Ivy? You want a separation? Good luck. You'll come crawling back once you realize you can't handle the real world. I stood up, matching his aggression with a calm determination. I'm done living under your shadow, Blake. You'll see just how capable I am. Now pack your things and get out. Blake stood there, his expression a mix of disbelief and fury. You're making a huge mistake, Ivy. No, I said firmly. The mistake was thinking I needed you. Without another word, Blake grabbed his briefcase and stormed upstairs. I heard the sounds of drawers opening and closing, his anger palpable even through the walls. When he finally emerged, a suitcase in hand, he paused at the door. You'll regret this, Ivy, he said, his voice low and menacing. Goodbye, Blake, I replied, not looking back as he left. As the door clicked shut behind him, a wave of relief washed over me. It wasn't the end, but it was a new beginning. I walked to the window, taking in the quiet street outside, feeling a sense of calm I hadn't felt in years. It was time to rebuild, and for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Blake moved out that evening. At first, he seemed confident, as if certain he could manipulate me into taking him back. But as days turned into weeks, reality began to set in. Ivy, we need to talk, Blake said one afternoon, standing on the porch, a forced smile on his face. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. What is it, Blake? I miss you, he said, unconvincingly. This whole separation thing, it was a mistake. We should try to work things out. I crossed my arms, standing firm. Work things out? After everything you've done? No, Blake. I'm moving forward with the divorce. His face darkened, the facade of charm slipping. Do you really want to ruin both our lives over this? Think about it, Ivy. You can't make it on your own. I already am, I said calmly. I've landed a major contract with a marketing firm. I'm financially independent, Blake. I don't need you. Blake's eyes flickered with anger. How can you do this to me? You think you can just erase me from your life? You brought this on yourself, I replied. Now, if there's nothing else, I'd appreciate it if you left. Blake stormed off, muttering curses under his breath. I watched him go, feeling a strange mix of pity and satisfaction. He was starting to realize he had lost control. A few days later, I received a call from a mutual friend, Lisa. Ivy, have you heard? Blake's affair with Vanessa. Everyone at his office knows. It's causing quite a stir. Really? I said, unable to hide my satisfaction. Interesting. It's all over the place, Lisa continued. Apparently, Blake tried to blame you for his stress at home, but no one's buying it. His reputation is in shambles. I thanked Lisa and hung up, sitting back with a sense of vindication. Blake's world was crumbling, and he had no one to blame but himself. A week later, Blake showed up again, but this time his demeanor was different. Desperate. Ivy, wait, he called out as I was heading to my car. What do you want, Blake? I said, not stopping. I am sorry, he stammered. I was wrong. Please, can we talk? I turned to face him. Talk about what? You've shown your true colors. I'll quit my job. I'll do anything. Just give me another chance. He looked pathetic, a shadow of the man who once tried to dominate my life. I shook my head slowly. It's too late for that, Blake. You need to face the consequences of your actions. As I drove away, I felt lighter. Blake's downfall was his own doing, and he was finally reaping what he had sown. The next few weeks saw Blake's life unravel further. Vanessa left him for another colleague, someone with better prospects. The scandal at his workplace grew, leading to his termination. Friends distanced themselves, unwilling to associate with a sinking ship. Meanwhile, my freelance business thrived. The major contract I had mentioned to Blake was just the beginning. New clients poured in, drawn by the quality and dedication I put into every project. My confidence soared, and my financial independence was solidified. I finalized the divorce, gaining significant compensation from Blake. He was left with a tarnished career and a bleak personal life. The irony wasn't lost on me. His arrogance had led him to this point. One evening, as I sat in my newly decorated living room, I received a text from Sophie. "Celebration dinner tomorrow?" "You've earned it." "Absolutely," I replied, smiling to myself. The future looked bright, and for the first time in years I felt truly free. Blake's chapter in my life was closed, and I was ready for whatever came next. I stood in the conference room, waiting for my meeting with the marketing firm's executives. The glass walls offered a view of the bustling city below. My heart raced with anticipation, but I felt confident. This was a far cry from the timid Ivy who once cowered under Blake's shadow. The door opened, and Mr. Thompson, the firm's director, walked in with a warm smile. "Ivy, good to see you again. Come on in." "Thank you for having me, Mr. Thompson," I said, shaking his hand. He led me to the table where several other executives were seated. "Everyone, this is Ivy Parker, the talented graphic designer we've been hearing so much about." I took a seat, feeling a surge of pride as they nodded in acknowledgement. "This campaign is crucial for us, Ivy," Mr. Thompson continued. "We've seen your work, and we're confident you're the right person for the job." We spent the next hour discussing the project. They were impressed with my ideas, and by the end of the meeting, I had secured the contract. As I walked out of the building, the weight of my achievements settled in. I had built a thriving business and established myself as a respected professional. Back at my new apartment, I reviewed the contract, excitement bubbling within me. The phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. It was Sophie. "How did it go?" she asked, her voice eager. "I got it," I said, unable to keep the triumph from my voice. "That's amazing, Ivy. Let's celebrate tonight." "Definitely. I'll see you at 7, I replied, hanging up with a grin. I glanced around my apartment, a symbol of my newfound freedom. It was cozy, filled with personal touches, and devoid of Blake's oppressive presence. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Blake's downfall had paved the way for my rise. Later at the restaurant, Sophie and I clinked our glasses together. "To new beginnings," she toasted. "To new beginnings," I echoed, smiling. "Thank you for always supporting me, Sophie. I couldn't have done this without you." "Hey, you did all the hard work? I just gave you a little nudge," she said, grinning. Our laughter filled the air, a stark contrast to the tense, unhappy dinners I once had with Blake. I realized how far I had come, and how much I had gained from walking away. The next morning, I received an unexpected email. It was from Vanessa. "Ivy, I don't know if you'll read this, but I wanted to apologize. I never meant to hurt you. Blake deceived me too. I've left him and moved on. I hope you find peace." I stared at the message, feeling a strange mix of emotions. I had no intention of replying, but it was a reminder of how much had changed. Blake's attempts to reach out continued to fail. His calls and messages went unanswered. He was now working a menial job after struggling to find employment in his field, his reputation too tarnished to recover. He had become the epitome of lost potential while I had thrived. I felt no pity for him. This was his karma, the consequence of his arrogance and betrayal. He had underestimated me, and now he was living with the results. As for me, my life was full of new opportunities and possibilities. I had not only survived, but flourished. The future was mine to shape, free from the shadows of my past. That evening, as I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights, I felt a deep sense of contentment. The journey had been tough, but it had made me stronger. And with every breath, I welcomed the promise of the days to come, confident that I could take on anything life threw my way. The sun streamed through the windows of my new apartment, casting a warm glow over my fresh start. It had only been a few weeks since the divorce was finalized, and I felt a profound sense of freedom. My business continued to thrive, and the future looked brighter than ever. "Ivy, how about we grab lunch today?" Sophie texted early that morning. "Sounds perfect. Noon at our usual spot?" I replied, smiling at her perfect timing. At the cafe, Sophie and I chatted over sandwiches and iced coffee. She couldn't stop smiling. "You look so much happier, Ivy. It's like a weight has been lifted." "It has been," I admitted. "I'm finally living the life I want, without anyone holding me back." We spent the afternoon reminiscing and planning new adventures. The ease of our friendship was a stark contrast to the tension that used to consume my days with Blake. I felt grateful for every moment of peace and happiness. Back at my apartment, I looked around with pride. Each piece of furniture, every painting on the wall, reflected my taste, my choices. It was a sanctuary of my own making. Later that evening, a knock at the door interrupted my work. I opened it to find Blake standing there, looking disheveled and defeated. "What do you want, Blake?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Ivy, please," he begged. "Can I come in?" "No, Blake. Whatever you have to say, you can say it here." He hesitated, his eyes filled with a desperation I had never seen before. "I lost my job, Ivy. Everything's gone downhill since you left. I don't know what to do." I felt a pang of pity, but I stood firm. "That's not my problem anymore, Blake. You made your choices and now you have to live with them." "Please, Ivy," he said, his voice breaking. "I made mistakes, but I've learned my lesson. I need help." I shook my head, the resolve in my voice unwavering. "You took everything from me, Blake. My confidence, my happiness. It's time you learned to stand on your own." His shoulders slumped as he realized the finality of my words. "I don't know what to say," he murmured. "Goodbye, Blake," I said, closing the door. As the lock clicked into place, I felt a sense of closure. The chapter with Blake was truly over. Over the next few weeks, life continued to flourish. My business grew even more successful, and I found joy in every new project and client interaction. Sophie and I celebrated each victory, big and small, her support unwavering. One crisp autumn morning, I found myself standing in front of a beautiful old building in the heart of the city. With my newfound success, I was ready to invest in an apartment of my own, a place even more representative of the new life I had built. I signed the papers with a mix of excitement and pride. That evening, Sophie and I toasted to new beginnings in my soon-to-be home. "To your amazing journey, Ivy," she said, raising her glass. "You've come so far, and I'm so proud of you." "To us," I replied, clinking glasses. "To the future and all the adventures it holds." As we sat on the balcony, overlooking the bustling streets below, I realized how much had changed since Blake had walked out of my life. His downfall had been his own doing, and I had not just survived but thrived. I was more than the sum of his betrayal. I was resilient, independent, and ready to embrace whatever life brought my way. In the quiet of the night, I felt content and hopeful. The journey had been long and challenging, but every step had led me here, to a place of peace and newfound strength. The future was mine to write, and it brimmed with endless possibilities.
Because my sister and her husband are on a New Year's trip, I've decided to take care of their kids for a week.
My husband says something unbelievable and brought along our 3-month-old niece. Not only that, but my sister-in-law also has 2 sons. Hey, what do you think you're doing? It's clearly impossible, isn't it? Our niece can't even hold her head up yet, and I have no experience with childcare. Besides, do you know I'm in the last month of pregnancy? What if I go into labor with the baby while you're at work?
Well, we'll manage somehow.
There's no way we can just figure it out. So I decided to resort to extreme measures. My name is Catherine Moore. I'm a 28-year-old office worker. My husband Josh and I have known each other since high school. I was attracted to him because he was well-spoken and cheerful, even though he was indecisive and unreliable in some ways. Our relationship continued even after high school graduation. Our courtship progressed smoothly, and before we knew it, we were getting married. My in-laws are also kind and wonderful people who treat me like their own daughter. However, at the same time, I was troubled by something. Something has bothered me since the beginning of my marriage. It's Mackenzie, my sister-in-law, who often displays an overbearing attitude. She's so stunningly beautiful that even if you said she was a model, you'd believe it. Almost every man in town turns to look when she walks by. It seems she was quite popular with the opposite sex, even during her school days. However, Mackenzie's looks didn't match her attitude despite being exceptionally beautiful. She had a really sharp tongue. She claims she's just stating facts, but it's clear to anyone that she's constantly being malicious. When I went to my in-laws' house for the marriage introduction, I was subjected to some truly terrible remarks from Mackenzie, whom I was meeting for the first time.
Oh, so you're Josh's wife? You're rather plain and unremarkable. Well, marrying a man like Josh, it's only natural that you're nothing special.
Well...
Anyway, please don't talk to me too much in public. It would be embarrassing for my friends to know that I associate with a plain girl like you. And just be aware of your place.
The first words she said to me were these. I had never encountered someone like her before, so I couldn't help but be shocked. I had heard from Josh that his sister has a bit of a tough personality, but I never imagined she would be so blunt and rude. Additionally, Josh's attitude at that moment also left me dissatisfied.
Beautiful girls like my sister are hard to come by. Someone like you, Catherine, is about right for me.
It was utterly disrespectful. Maybe Josh thought he was being supportive, but it sounded like he was making fun of me. On the way home, I complained to Josh, but all I got was a light apology.
Since my sister has a strong personality, it's better not to argue back too much. She's got a lot of pride, so if anyone other than herself flirts, she'll sulk. Saying bad things about you like that satisfies her.
I understood, but there were still parts I couldn't accept. However, there was no point in complaining further, and I didn't want to argue with Josh, so I decided to endure it. Well, Mackenzie seems to be married and out of the house. I'll try to keep my distance as much as possible during these family events. I thought that way, but that decision was naive. She had a much more selfish and brazen personality than I had imagined. Mackenzie's husband, Jeff, is always busy with his high-flying job. Seems like he spends more time away on business trips than at home. Mackenzie is a full-time homemaker, but she always tries to take advantage of us whenever she can. Even if we try to refuse, she throws tantrums and orders us around.
I'm in the middle of shopping right now. It looks like I'll be done soon, so please come pick me up. While you're at it, could you also pick up my lunch from the convenience store? A sandwich would be nice. I'll give you the money later, so please pay for it in advance.
Mackenzie, without even listening to my response, would order me to do whatever she wanted. I'm fed up with her selfishness. This isn't the first time I've bought lunch on behalf of Mackenzie. She says she'll pay later, but she's never once kept her promise. So I decided to refuse once and for all. Hey, Mackenzie, I'm working right now, so I can't go shopping and pick things up for you.
I know you're on your lunch break. Josh told me.
It seems Josh is sharing my schedule without my permission. He can't oppose his sister and basically does whatever she says. But I'm about to have lunch too.
You can eat later. I have kids, so I don't even have time to eat lunch properly. You don't have kids, so you can eat whenever, right?
I wanted to say that this was not the issue, but I decided not to argue. In the end, I couldn't have lunch and ended up doing the pickups and shopping for Mackenzie. Mackenzie has 2 boys, aged 5 and 3. She even involves us in taking care of her children. She asks us to take care of them for various reasons like shopping, going to the hospital, or having lunch with friends whenever we have days off. It seems like it's impossible to leave them with Mackenzie's parents.
The last time we left the kids with Dad, he ended up throwing out his back. Then, Mom gave me an earful of complaints and snide remarks. I can't handle any more nagging and complaining.
Mackenzie says that, but I've been informed by my in-laws of the truth. My father-in-law injured his back because Mackenzie practically leaves the kids at my in-laws' house almost every day. So my mother-in-law blamed Mackenzie for neglecting the kids and wandering off, and eventually it seems she couldn't bear to leave the kids with her anymore. While Mackenzie is indeed a stay-at-home mom, she doesn't seem to be doing any parenting. I did find it puzzling where she was going. I really wonder where she's off playing around. On the other hand, Mackenzie's kids are too energetic, causing chaos. Our furniture and belongings quickly end up in disarray. And to top it off, Josh didn't bother taking care of the kids. He just left everything to me. Hey, Josh, can you help out with the kids too? I'm not the only one taking care of them, you know?
No way. If I make them cry by accident, I'll get an earful from my sis, won't I?
He's so unreliable and weak like this. It's just so pathetic. However, if I give the kids proper attention, they'll behave and avoid trouble. Though I dislike Mackenzie, her children are adorable. Through them, I gradually began to desire my own children. However, despite my wishes, I couldn't conceive easily. Even though my sister, who doesn't take care of her kids, has 2 children already, why can't I have a baby? It's so unfair. While I understand logically that children are a gift, I can't help but feel down. But in the 5th year of marriage, I finally became pregnant. The child I'm carrying is a girl. Approaching the last month of my pregnancy, I was filled with happiness. At the same time, Mackenzie also gave birth to her 3rd child. Her child is also a girl and is now 3 months old. Mackenzie had been staying with her parents, but she returned home once things settled down. I was also planning to go back to my parents' house for childbirth, but things took a turn for the worse. One day, Josh returned home to our house with Mackenzie's 2 boys and her 3-month-old daughter. Then he said something unbelievable to me.
My sister is going on a New Year's trip for a week, so I've decided to take care of her children during that time.
Josh's sudden statement left me speechless. Apparently, Mackenzie's parents caught a cold early in the new year and are bedridden, so they can't help. But even so, I'm troubled if they rely on me. I felt anger welling up at Josh's selfish behavior. What do you think you're doing? Of course it's impossible for me to take care of 3 children with such a big belly. The niece hasn't yet learned to hold her head up, and the older boys are still a handful. Even now, just managing household chores with this big belly is a struggle. There's absolutely no way I can prepare meals for the kids and handle other household chores on top of that. Do you realize I'm nearing my due date? What if I go into labor with the baby while you're at work?
Well, we'll figure something out, won't we? Haven't I always taken care of the kids properly until now? I can't refuse my sister's request now, so please do something.
There's no way things will work out. And now after all this, you're asking me to do something? Please, don't say things like that lightly. It was December 26th that day, and Josh's New Year's break starts on the 29th. By the way, I'm on maternity leave, so I'm off. Josh is expecting me, heavily pregnant, to take care of 3 kids. I can't take it anymore. I decided to take drastic measures. As I was packing up my stuff in the house, Josh was startled to see it and began to panic.
Hey, what are you doing?
Can't you see? I'm going back home as planned.
Huh? What nonsense are you talking about? What about the kids? Abandoning them like this is irresponsible.
I never had an obligation to take care of those kids in the first place. I've been patient until now, but I've had enough. You need to take responsibility and take care of the kids. Ignoring his attempts to stop me, I returned to my parents' home. I really can't deal with this anymore. I never thought Josh would be this thoughtless. When I explained the situation to my parents, they were furious. They said I could stay as long as I needed to calm down. I was grateful and felt like crying a little. While the situation has calmed down, the fundamental problem remains unresolved. I decided that even after giving birth, I would continue to leave the child at home. To be honest, my love for Josh has completely run out. I couldn't stay married to someone who was under his sister's thumb while his wife was pregnant. To solve the problem, I contacted someone, and then shocking facts came to light. The next day, the doorbell at my parents' house rang. Josh, Mackenzie, and her 3 kids came. The moment I saw them, I felt utterly discouraged. My dad asked,
Should I kick them out?
But well, Josh might go, but I doubt Mackenzie would. I asked my parents to stick around just in case. Mackenzie glared at me and started complaining.
I was surprised to hear from my brother. What's the meaning of not taking care of my kids?
It means just what it means, I countered Mackenzie. Up until now, I've managed somehow, but I'm close to giving birth. Taking care of 3 kids in this condition is impossible.
Don't say such pathetic things. Do you really think you can handle parenting like this? You can't even look after kids, so how do you expect to be a mother?
Other people's children and my own children are different. Anyway, no matter what anyone says, I won't take care of your children. Please ask someone else. I refused to be involved at all and declined to take care of her kids. However, Mackenzie was more reluctant to give up than expected. She started suggesting outrageous things as if she were saying, "What a brilliant idea." Then why don't you take care of the children at your parents' house? Since your parents are here too, there should be enough people. That shouldn't be a problem, right? My parents are also astonished by her audacity. I glance at Josh and he looks uncomfortable. Eventually, he started saying various things in support of Mackenzie as if he was taking her side.
I'll help as much as I can, so don't be selfish, Catherine. My sister is family, so it makes sense to help her, right?
The moment he spoke as if I were at fault, something inside me snapped. We're getting a divorce. Since we won't be family anymore, I won't help with childcare. Josh was shocked by my words, and Mackenzie looked bewildered. In a panic, Josh exclaimed,
What are you saying? Are you trying to harass me? Don't talk about divorce so easily over a small marital spat. How immature.
I glared at him and said coldly, "A small marital spat? Isn't it because you've been unilaterally dumping childcare responsibilities on me? Cut the nonsense. And did you think I hadn't noticed your secret?"
Huh?
"You're cheating, aren't you? I know about it." As I disclosed this, Josh's complexion turned sour in an instant. In fact, I had been secretly investigating Josh's phone and computer for evidence of his affair as preparation for a divorce. I discovered his infidelity through the exchanges left on his text messages and emails. By the way, I've already discussed the matter with the other woman. In exchange for reducing the alimony, I was able to obtain evidence of Josh's infidelity. The reason I want to divorce Josh is because he always obeys and does everything his sister Mackenzie says. I'm actually grateful to Josh's mistress for giving me such a good reason to divorce him. It seems the mistress intended to only play with Josh, as she willingly handed over all the evidence she had. She has probably already erased Josh's contact information and fled by now. When I explained the situation, Josh seemed stunned and speechless. He probably didn't expect to be completely exposed by me and betrayed by his mistress. He's truly a despicable man. It would be great if the story ended here, but it's not that simple. After this, Mackenzie still hadn't given up on trying to leave the kids with me.
"My brother's infidelity has nothing to do with me. The hotel for the trip is already booked. It's too late to cancel now. So you absolutely must take care of the kids."
Mackenzie was still trying to push through such absurd demands. After sighing, I confronted her with reality. "Mackenzie, you can't afford to go on a trip. Wouldn't it be better to come back home right away?"
"Huh? What do you mean by that?"
"I know you're planning to leave the kids with your brother and go on a cheating trip."
"What? Are you serious?"
Upon hearing my words, Mackenzie turned pale. In fact, I had discussed this with Mackenzie's husband, Jeff, beforehand. I had told him, "I don't want you to leave the 3 kids with me, heavily pregnant as I am, just because you're going on a trip." However, Jeff was shocked when he heard this. After all, he had been working away from home, and there were no plans for him and Mackenzie to travel. So it meant that Mackenzie had lied to her husband and was planning to go on a trip with someone else. Jeff had been suspicious of Mackenzie's infidelity for a while and had hired a private investigator. He even mentioned that they're conducting a DNA test on the 3rd daughter because she doesn't resemble him much. The shocking truth emerged when I contacted someone for help. Upon hearing the news, Mackenzie screamed, hastily took the kids, and went home. That left only me, my parents, and Josh. Josh, sweating profusely, desperately begged for my forgiveness.
Catherine, I'm sorry. It's true that I cheated, but it wasn't serious. Just a little mistake. I won't do it again, so please, forgive me.
Even though he pleaded with a voice on the verge of tears, my heart remained unmoved. In fact, both my parents and I looked at him with utter disdain. I had no intention of forgiving Josh. He had always prioritized listening to Mackenzie and yet burdened me with all the responsibilities. There's no way I could have any attachment to a husband who prioritized his sister and even cheated. So I said this to him. "Don't say stupid things. Whether it was a moment of madness or not, whether you were serious or not, it doesn't matter. Cheating is a blatant betrayal of me and our unborn child. Just because you apologized doesn't mean you're forgiven. What value does your apology even hold?
That's...
Both of you and your sister are cheating. You two are truly cut from the same cloth. Disgusting. I can't understand how you can hurt your own spouse and act so nonchalant. Don't ever come near us again. Immediately after saying this, and while Josh was still trying to make excuses, my father kicked him out of the house. After that, I divorced Josh and demanded alimony and child support from him. Josh repeatedly asked for a reconciliation, but I adamantly refused. When he realized I wouldn't budge, he reluctantly agreed to the divorce and borrowed money to pay the alimony. He said he would pay the child support in installments. Mackenzie also got divorced from her husband, Jeff. As suspected, it seems the third child was indeed the child of her affair partner. The two elder children were taken in by Jeff, while it seems the third child was taken in by his parents. Moreover, Mackenzie's parents disowned her. Mackenzie, facing demands for alimony and child support from Jeff, now works night shifts to make ends meet. As for me, I safely gave birth to a daughter. She's adored by my parents and is growing up healthy. Blessed with such a lovely daughter, I feel happy and ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead for her sake.
Tom continued to cry loudly and desperately plead for help. My sister-in-law, Lily, soothed him, and when he calmed down, Tom finally told us why he was crying.
Mommy, please save Grandma.
Okay, I will. But from whom shall I save Grandma?
From the devil.
Huh?
If you lie, the devil will take you away, right? Because Grandma lied. So please help her and protect her from the devil.
When Tom finished saying this, he burst into tears and clung to Lily. Then, all at once, all our eyes turned to my mother-in-law, Anna. My name is Caitlin. I have been married to my husband, John, for 6 months, and we are leading a reasonably peaceful life. We are newlyweds, and our married lifestyle is fun, but there is just one problem. And that is, it's because of my mother-in-law, Anna. My husband and I went to college together and have known each other since then. He came from a rural area into the city, but he didn't go back to his parents very often. I thought people would usually go back to his parents' place during summer holidays or other long holidays, but this was not the case with John. When I casually asked John the reason, he told me that he didn't really have a good relationship with his mother. He said that ever since he could remember, he didn't really like how his mother behaved sometimes. If I remember correctly, John told me that it was her leadership style that he didn't like about his own mother. Until middle school, there are many school events where parents meet each other. In such situations like that, Anna was always at the center of the circle. And she loved to gossip around with other people, mostly in a negative way. She would make negative comments about people saying things like, "I don't agree with it, but..." My husband told me that he hated that and was disgusted by it. In addition to that, once Anna catches John's attention, she would start backstabbing and complaining about people and about anything. My husband didn't like hearing her backstabbing people and her complaints, so he didn't go home to his parents' place much anymore. Before we got married, I had just listened to stories from John about Anna and thought that maybe John didn't like to get too involved in conversations like we women do. But when I first met her to greet them before I got married to John, I finally understood what my husband was talking about.
You two met in college, right?
Yes, that's right.
It's unusual for a girl like you to be a science major.
Well, yes, you're right. There were only 4 of us girls in our department, including me.
Oh, is that so?
When I was in college, I majored in liberal arts, and there were a lot of girls who were all pretty and glamorous. I guess a lot of popular girls tend to be in liberal arts.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Many of the girls in the liberal arts are very cute and fashionable. But, on the other hand, girls who majors in science wear jeans and shirts, right? I wonder if some of them are tomboys. Wow, you know pretty well. I'm actually that type, you know. I thought I was having a good conversation with Anna, but for some reason I felt somewhat strange.
That's enough of that talk then.
Okay.
I wasn't saying to you, Caitlin. I was saying to my mother.
Oh, what? Did I say something wrong? My husband looked annoyed at Anna, but Anna looked normal, as if she didn't say anything wrong. At the time, I had no idea what was wrong with the conversation I just had with Anna. But then, my husband apologized to me on the way home and explained to me, and that was when I understood everything.
I'm sorry about my mother.
Huh? Why?
Well, you see, she was always one-upping you.
What? When?
When you both were talking about women in liberal arts and science. Well, it's not only that, but yeah.
Oh, come to think of it, I did feel somewhat off then, but I didn't exactly really know what it was. But I really didn't think she was one-upping me.
That's what I love about you, Caitlin. I just want you to know that I don't want my mother to nag at you too. Mother was saying women in liberal arts equals glamorous and women in science equals tomboy, but by saying that, she was implying something else. Women in liberal arts are fashionable, but women in science are lame, is what I think she was trying to say. But to me, if women in science are tomboys, I think that they are graceful.
Oh, you're right. Wow, so she was indirectly saying that I was lame, huh? I really wasn't thinking that deeply, you know. But now I know. So this is what you were talking about, John, when you said you didn't like that part about her, huh? From now on, I'm going to just let it all slide and shrug them off before Anna starts running her engine to one-up me. Like that, the only element of my anxiety in our marriage was Anna. My husband hasn't been back home much since before he was married, and he himself wants to keep his distance from his mother. So, in the end, we decided to get married, thinking that it would be fine. After the marriage, my husband and I have not returned to his parents' place. And even after 6 months, we still haven't visited over, and there hasn't been any major issues. The only problem is that Anna calls us, and every phone call I have with her is really long. She calls me and tells me many gossips about her neighbors. And everything she says about her neighbors are all negative. There are not that many bad people in the world, but she talks as if she is surrounded by really bad people. And I am not able to agree with everything she says. So, I try not to listen to what she says, and I can only reply as I see to her. I would always receive such calls from her twice a week. Each call lasts about 2 hours or so. I have been listening to everything that she has to say that I don't agree with her about at all for hours on end, and to be honest, I was getting a little depressed.
You look like you're exhausted recently. Are you okay?
My husband says while looking at me. Yeah, I'm okay.
You sure? Did something happen? You should talk to me about everything, you know?
Everything?
Yeah, everything. We're married, Caitlin.
When I told my husband what had happened, he immediately apologized to me.
I'm so sorry for not realizing about this.
It's not your fault, honey.
No, it is my responsibility. I really had no idea that my mother was calling you. I'm really sorry. I'll talk to my mother about it, so from now on, you can just ignore the calls you get from my mother. You can even set your phone to block her calls, okay?
Even though my husband said that, I didn't set my phone to block Anna's calls. But my husband was able to tell his mother to stop calling me, and after that, Anna did not call me anymore. It was then that I received a call from my sister-in-law, Lily, informing me of the birth of her second baby. It was the first visit home to my in-laws since our marriage, but my husband was not at all enthusiastic from the start.
Would it be wrong to just send them a gift or something?
Well, that's a difficult question, isn't it? I think that would be fine, but from Lily's point of view, I think she would want us to celebrate with them, wouldn't she? What was it like when Tom was born? Tom was Lily's first baby and he was turning 4 this year.
We all got together that time too.
Oh, I see. Then maybe we should celebrate together in that way.
You're right.
My husband didn't want to go back to his parents' house as much as possible, but this was for the sake of his newborn nephew. My husband also told himself the same thing and decided to join the celebration. When we headed to my in-laws' house, we saw them being all over Lily's second baby. Everyone was celebrating in the living room. I helped around the house with Anna since Lily just got out from the clinic after giving birth to the baby. We set out the dishes and enjoyed the meal together. After finishing the meal, the whole family would gather around the newborn baby again. I carried the dishes to the sink while watching the family gather around the newborn baby. My husband also followed me and we were able to finish cleaning up smoothly. My husband was also touching the baby's cheeks and repeatedly saying how cute she was. I'm glad we got to come here in the end. With these thoughts in mind, I got up from my seat and was about to go into the restroom when I heard the door behind close me. I turned around in surprise to find Anna standing there. Anna, what's wrong?
Don't use it.
Excuse me?
Strangers can't use the restroom here.
What?
Yes, since you're a stranger, why don't you go outside and find a restroom for you to use?
Outside? Okay, I understand. Are there any shops nearby here?
Oh, we're in the countryside, you know, so there are no shops nearby.
I see. Then I'll just use your bathtub.
Huh? Well, as you can imagine, I am a human being too, and doing my business outside the house is just a bit too much, so I thought doing it in the bathtub would be better. I actually once did it in the bathtub, and I was yelled at by my father, but please don't mind me. When I tried to open the door to the bathroom, which was right next to the toilet, Anna desperately tried to stop me. Oh, Caitlin, what the hell are you thinking?
Oh, it's okay. Restroom and bath is the same thing.
That's not the point here. Please, just get your hands off.
Perhaps Anna's loud voice reached the living room. My husband rushed over.
Mother, what are you doing to Caitlin?
Oh, honey, you know, your mother won't let me use... I didn't do anything.
Huh?
I didn't do anything to her. When we were all just enjoying the time, Caitlin here was about to start cleaning the bathtub all of a sudden, so I just stopped her.
Huh?
Then does that mean that I can use the restroom?
What are you even talking about? Of course you can. What am I talking about? What? That is my line. She says that I can't use it, but I can use it, so what is the real answer? In the midst of all this, it was Tom who suddenly started to cry loudly. I'm not sure how long he was there, but now Tom was crying right at the front door. Surprised by Tom's voice, Lily and her husband and even my father-in-law gathered right in front of the bathroom, which was close to the front door.
Grandma! Grandma is...
Tom was crying a lot in a serious way, and even I, who has never had a child before, knew that Tom was crying seriously. Lily goes over to comfort Tom, but she also can't get him to stop.
Mommy! Please save Grandma!
Well, this is a bad situation. Save Grandma means I'm the bad guy here. Even I could understand where this was going to. I have done nothing wrong, but it is very difficult to prove it in this situation. And seeing this, Anna did not try to miss the opportunity too.
Aw, Tommy, you're trying to protect me. You're such a kind boy, Tommy.
Thank you.
My goodness, Caitlin, maybe you could learn something from Tom here. When we were all having fun and enjoying the time as a one big family, you just tried to clean the bathtub all of a sudden. You really have no sense of being cooperative around here.
But Tom continued to cry loudly and desperately plead for help. My sister-in-law Lily soothed him, and when he calmed down, Tom finally told us why he was crying.
Mommy, please save Grandma.
Okay, I will. But from whom shall I save Grandma?
From the devil.
Huh?
If you lie, the devil will take you away, right? Because Grandma lied. So please help her and protect her from the devil.
When Tom finished saying this, he burst into tears and clung to Lily. Then all at once, all our eyes turned to my mother-in-law, Anna.
Oh, Tom, it's okay. What you mean is that
Grandma here told me to not use the restroom because I'm a stranger, right?
Yeah.
And I was told to go to the restroom outside, and Grandma also was the one who said not to use the bathtub too, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry, Grandma will tell the truth. So the devil won't take her away. Right, Anna?
Tommy,
did I really say that?
Yeah, you did.
I see. I don't really remember, but if I did say it, then I'm sorry, Tommy. I admit then. Then seeing what had happened, Lily instructed her husband to bring the kids upstairs with him. When she saw that they had gone upstairs, she glared right at Anna. I can't believe you made excuses. You're the worst, Mother. I mean, what the heck did you even say to Caitlin? I knew how mean you can be, Mother, but since you took care of our child, I tried to ignore it. But this time, no way. I'm not coming here anymore, so please do keep that in mind.
Hey, wait.
Then Lily came and hugged me, quickly packed her bags, took her family with her, and left the house. We won't be coming here anymore either. But first, you should apologize.
Do I need to apologize?
Excuse me?
Because Caitlin is a stranger. She got annoyed by my calls, wasn't she?
Well, yes, duh. Who wants to pick up the phone when all you do is talk shit about other people?
I didn't say anything bad about anyone. I really do hope that the devil takes her away someday. John, you shouldn't be getting carried away like this with her. You do know that Caitlin is a stranger and you're only connected to her through just a piece of paper, right? You just got married and all you do is take your wife's side. How pathetic.
That's not how John is.
You're a stranger, so you better shut up. I mean, what were you even thinking of doing in someone's bathroom?
Well, that's because you told me that I couldn't use the restroom, so that's why I had no choice but to...
So I told you to go outside.
And I told you that I can't do that.
Oh, Caitlin, I truly apologize for my wife's rudeness. I'm sorry for not apologizing to you earlier.
Oh no, it's not your fault, Jack.
No, it's also my responsibility that Anna became this way. But it seems like I've been pretending too long to not see what was actually going on. You cannot use our restroom too from today.
Sweetie, what the heck are you saying?
You and I, we are strangers too, and we are only connected through a piece of paper. And this house is my house, so I cannot let a stranger use my restroom.
What the hell? We've been together for more than...
That doesn't matter anymore. From the day we became a husband and a wife, we are supposed to support each other, right? And John did what he was supposed to do to support his wife. He grew up to be a good son who loves his wife. And Caitlin is such a nice, good person. She doesn't even think people's sarcasm and criticism to be a sarcasm or criticism. What you were doing to Caitlin is just completely terrible. I'm just so disappointed in you.
After that, Jack urged my husband and I to go home, and we quickly went back home. And that was the last time I saw Anna, because Jack had divorced Anna. According to my husband, Jack got fed up with the fact that Anna had deeply hurt her grandchild's feelings, how she did nothing but belittle people whenever she had the chance to talk. Anna was never taken by the devil, but actually she was taken to the city office by Jack. I heard that Anna didn't make a fuss at the city office and signed the papers quietly. Lily and John both checked the divorce papers, and it looked like they had no objection to the divorce. Jack properly divided the property in two and gave his half to Anna. They got divorced in their 60s. I am told that Anna has returned to her own family home. It seems that Anna begged to see her grandchildren, but that has not happened so far. Lily has decided not to have her kids be with Anna, saying that children should grow up surrounded by nice adults. I completely agree. You wouldn't want your precious kids to be around adults who only speak negative, terrible things. Lily and John might have grown up in such an environment and may have had many bad experiences. Since Anna left, my life has been much calmer. We began to visit Jack from time to time. I was worried about Jack, who now lives alone, and I also heard that Lily and her husband were also worried about that too, and that they too now frequently visit Jack at his house. I thought that Tom, who tried to protect his grandma, was a grandma's little boy, but apparently he was not. He was just trying to help someone who could have been taken away by the devil. He was usually the grandpa's little boy, and he was really close with Jack. It's been 3 months since then, and now I'm pregnant. I want to provide a good environment for my child. Words are words that will eventually come back to me, so I might as well avoid saying anything negative. And I would like to be always at peace. Congratulations on your pregnancy, Caitlin. I hope you have an amazing, healthy life. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.
My husband and his mother leaves for a trip, and as a result...
Are you both going somewhere right now? When I said this, the two looked at me while they smirked, as if they had been waiting for me to ask them that question.
We are gonna go travel. My mom and I are going to Guam now.
Excuse me?
Well then, take care of Dad, okay? Bye!
As my husband Matthew said this, he grinned, and Matthew and his mother walked out with their suitcases. I was just too stunned at what was happening, so I couldn't move for a while. Oh, Jack, I am so sorry. Then my father-in-law, Jack, suddenly got up, rolled up his sleeves, and said this.
Well then, shall we get started?
My name is Kim, and I am 32 years old, working at a company. It's been 10 years now since I graduated from college and started working for the company I began working for. Every day I was busy with work, but I also found it rewarding, and I did my best to keep up. And, thanks to my efforts, I am currently in the position of the section manager. I also had a happy event in my personal life. My boyfriend, Matthew, whom I have been going out with for 3 years, had proposed to me. He and I were classmates in college and have always been friends. We kept in touch by going out for drinks regularly, but it never developed into a romantic relationship right away. But we gradually began to feel comfortable with each other and became aware of each other's feelings bit by bit. And we began to go out. And our relationship progressed smoothly, which led to our marriage. It has now been a year since we got married, and we are very comfortable and happy because we know each other very well. Matthew and I both work, but my husband does his share of the house chores so that it won't be just a huge burden on me, and I am able to balance work and personal life. I was happy that I had found a very good husband. My husband also told me that he was very happy to have married the woman he loved, and I thought we would be able to live a happy married life for a long time. But then, something unexpected happened. When I came home from work, my husband had not returned home yet. I had worked overtime that day, so it was around 9 p.m. or so when I got home. I wondered if my husband was also working overtime, but his job requires relatively little overtime, so he rarely stays late until this late. I became a little concerned and sent a text message to my husband. Then I received a reply back from Matthew, which made me surprised. He told me that my father-in-law, Jack, had fell. I told him I would go to the hospital immediately, but he said it would be okay because Jack's condition was just now calming down, and Jack was sleeping, and that my husband was about to leave. As I waited anxiously, my husband returned home a few minutes later. When I asked him about the details, he told me that Jack had fallen down the stairs at home and hit his head hard. He then passed out and was rushed to the hospital. He had a concussion and was in a dangerous condition at one point, but as of now, it seems like the injury is not life-threatening. But my husband did not look happy. Is there something else?
Well, it seems that he injured his spinal cord when he fell down, and he's going to have some after effects because of that.
What?
It seems like he'll probably need nursing care after he gets out of the hospital.
Oh no. Hearing this, I felt sorry for Jack. It must be hard for him to be in such a situation, even though he had just recently retired.
So, I was thinking a little bit about something. I'm thinking of moving in with my mom and dad.
Huh?
I'm worried about Mom being on her own. I think that she'll also feel safer if we are around. So that's why I want to live with them.
Like that, my husband had asked me to live with his parents. It would certainly be difficult for my mother-in-law, Lucy, to take care of Jack, who can't move freely on his own now. After some consideration, I decided to agree with Matthew to live with his parents. When my husband contacted Lucy about what we decided, she seemed pleased as well. So, we moved into my parents-in-law's house and started living together. Oh, Lucy, it's great to see you. We'll be in your care.
It's great to see you too, and welcome in.
After greeting Lucy, I went to Jack's room. Jack was lying on his bed with only his face turned toward me. Oh, Jack, are you okay?
Welcome, Kim. And I'm okay. I'm sorry to make you worried.
From now on, Matthew and I will be here, so please don't worry about anything.
Oh, thank you. That's very helpful of you both.
Jack smiled gently as he said that and greeted me. But it was still painful for him to be in this situation, and he sounded somewhat sad and less energetic than before. Jack was able to leave the hospital with no issues, but he still has to undergo rehabilitation. But even if he continues rehabilitation, the doctors are not sure if he will recover fully. So that's why maybe Jack is also a little concerned and anxious about his future too. I thought to myself that I would need to take care of Jack's mental health as well. Jack, I will support you in any way I can. If you have any problems or any concerns and worries, please feel free to talk to me anytime. When I said this, Jack replied in a slightly more cheerful voice than before, saying,
Thank you, that's really reassuring.
When I returned from Jack's room to the living room, Lucy called out to me.
Oh, Kim, what are you doing?
Excuse me? Oh, I was saying hello to Jack.
Oh, stop being so lazy. Get on with the cleaning.
Huh? Lucy says so as she glared at me with a scary face. I was so startled that I froze. Then, Lucy looked at me and got angry again.
What are you doing being lazy?
You're so slow at everything. Hurry up and move around. So then, I quickly started to clean up my parents-in-law's house. I didn't even have the time to unpack the things I had brought with me. I had no idea that Lucy was such a scary person. I thought she had been kind to me when she greeted me on our wedding day. But the moment we started living together, she changed her attitude like this. After that, Lucy kept on ordering me and telling me what to do. Cleaning the shower room, the bathtub, and the toilet was a must. She made me do everything from cleaning the room to cooking as well. And Lucy complained to me every time I was cooking.
You're so sloppy. I'm hungry.
Goodness gracious, did Matthew have to always eat meals like this? Oh, poor Matthew. I couldn't concentrate on cooking because Lucy was always complaining about it non-stop. And when the cooking was finished and everyone was seated at the table, Lucy acted as if she had cooked them all by herself.
Oh, I am so sorry to make you wait, Matthew. Eat a lot, okay? There's seconds too if you want them, honey.
Thank you, Mom.
Matthew, you're working very hard at your job, so you definitely need to eat a lot to build up your strength and energy.
Lucy then happily watched Matthew eat. I had never met my parents-in-law when we were dating before my husband and I got married, so I never realized it, but apparently Lucy loves Matthew too much. Perhaps it is because Matthew was her only son, but somehow I get the feeling that she wants her son all to herself. Come to think of it, my husband lived at home with his parents all his life until we got married. I'm sure Lucy hates me because she thinks I took her son away from her. It wasn't even my intention to do that, so Lucy thinking that way is a big hassle for me, to be honest. After that, Lucy continued to force me to do house chores, and she just kept on bullying me. She even forced me to take care of Jack. When I came home from work, Lucy forced me to prepare dinner, care for Jack, and clean the house, and I was exhausted literally every single day. And on weekends, I had to do whatever Lucy asked me to do all day long. Since I work during the day, I am unable to take care of Jack. But then Lucy insisted that I pay for a helper out of my earnings. And finally, I could no longer stand this kind of terrible treatment from Lucy, so I decided to talk to my husband about it. Hey, you know, about Lucy, she's being really mean to me lately. Could you maybe also tell her to take it a little easy for me? When I asked my husband about it, he started to say something I never thought he would say. Why are you blaming Mom? Mom is relying on you as my wife to take care of her. I won't allow you to speak bad about my mom. I knew that Lucy really loved Matthew, but I had no idea that my husband was also a mama's boy, always taking on his mom's side. I'm not saying anything bad about Lucy. I'm just saying that even though she relies on me, she asks me to do too many things. Don't you dare think about making everything easy for you. I asked you to support my mom, didn't I? I then got angry and irritated at the fact that my husband was putting all the burden on me. Then you should also help around too. You haven't done a single thing around the house since we moved into this house. You haven't even taken care of your father, have you? When I said this, my husband made an even more unbelievable statement. If I do that, my mom will stop me. What? Mom says it's the wife's job to take care of the house. Husbands work outside the house to earn money. This is her way of thinking, so I decided to follow her way. No way! If you want, I'd even like for you to quit your job and concentrate on the house chores. I absolutely did not want to do that. I don't want to quit my current job because I enjoy it, and I'm being entrusted with various responsibilities, which makes it considerably more rewarding for me. In the end, my husband did not take my side, but on the contrary, he started to be harsh with me since then. Hey, are you doing your chores properly? I hope you're not annoying my mom. Lucy was smiling when she sees my husband being harsh with me.
Kim really is a useless wife. Matthew, honey, why don't you just dump this woman?
Huh, you're right. If she's too useless, I'll throw her out sooner or later.
I was absolutely mortified when my husband and Lucy said such things to me. How could they say such heartless words to me as if it was a normal thing to do? I went to Jack's room as if to run away from them and concentrate on caring for him.
Oh, Kim, I am sorry for my rude wife and my foolish son. We had Matthew when we were both old, So that's why my wife is overly caring for Matthew and spoiled him to who he is today. I'll apologize on behalf of the two.
Oh no, it's not your fault, Jack, so please don't worry so much. The only saving grace for me was that Jack was decent. For a while after that, I spent my days taking care of Jack while enduring punishment from my husband and Lucy. It was really tough to be around them both, but still, thinking about Jack, I couldn't take the plunge into divorce right away. Then one day, Lucy and Matthew did something that shocked me. That day was the first day of the new year. I woke up early in the morning and was preparing breakfast. Then, unusually, both Lucy and Matthew woke up early in the morning. Oh, Happy New Year! You're both up early. When I said this to Lucy, she smiled and said, Well, we have to be up early anyways. I wondered if she and Matthew were going somewhere. It was too much hassle to ask for details, so I proceeded to prepare the meal. Then, I saw my husband and Lucy getting ready and already putting on their coats. I thought I had to confirm this, so I asked them, Are you both going somewhere right now? When I said this, the two looked at me while they smirked, as if they had been waiting for me to ask them that question.
We're gonna go travel. My mom and I are going to Guam now.
Excuse me?
Well then, take care of Dad, okay? Bye!
As my husband Matthew said this, he grinned, and Matthew and his mother walked out with their suitcases. I was just too stunned at what was happening, so I couldn't move for a while. I never thought that they would leave me and Jack early into the new year and even go on a trip with just the two of them. That was just unacceptable. Maybe them leaving was good because it'll be a perfect timing for me. I still have a lot of preparations to do, but I just can't take it anymore. I immediately headed to Jack's room. Oh, Jack, I am so sorry. I have something I need to talk to you about. When I talked to Jack, he looked at me and began to say this.
Do you want to divorce Matthew?
What? How did you know this?
I can tell by the look on your face that you've just had enough, Kim. Don't you worry about me. You go on with your life.
Oh, Jack.
Anywho, where is Matthew and Lucy? Did they go somewhere out?
Well, it looks like they went traveling to Guam. Hearing this, Jack was stunned to hear that the two of them had gone on a trip. Then, my father-in-law, Jack, suddenly got up, rolled up his sleeves, and said this.
Well then, shall we get started?
Huh? Jack, how can you get up like that?
It's all thanks to the rehabilitation, you know. Just recently, I was able to get up on my own with just my upper body. I wanted to tell earlier, but Kim, you seem to be having a hard time, and even if I told Matthew and Lucy, they would probably complain that I shouldn't go to the hospital that much now that I can move a little. So, I was going to tell this only to you when I could move around a little more.
I see.
This way, even with a wheelchair, I'll be able to move around on my own enough. Well then, let's get prepared as soon as possible.
I nodded at Jack and immediately started preparing for the divorce. I got 2 sets of divorce papers and changed the locks on my in-laws' house. And a few days later, Lucy and Matthew came home not knowing what to expect. They didn't seem to open the locks and were trying to force the door open. I had no choice but to unlock the door for them.
Hey, what the hell is going on? Why won't the door unlock?
I calmly replied to my furious husband and Lucy. Well, that's because I changed the locks. I need to talk to you both, so come to the living room. With their faces turning red, I forced them to come to the living room.
Oh, Dad?
What? How are you able to move around in a wheelchair all by yourself? Jack just ignored them and told them to sit there.
What the hell were you two thinking? You both just left Kim to do everything, and now you both just went on a trip. I can no longer tolerate both of your selfishness. I'm divorcing you, Lucy, and I'm cutting ties with you, Matthew. Both of you better leave this house instantly.
When Jack said this, Lucy and Matthew were quite upset. Why must we get a divorce?
Yeah, that's right. Cutting us off is just too much. Be quiet. You two got together and forced Kim to do all the housework and take care of me. And then you complained at her and treated her badly. I will never forgive you both for being that way to Kim.
Lucy and Matthew both flinched at Jack's angry voice. So I took the opportunity and opened my mouth. Matthew, you are having an affair, aren't you? My husband looked nervous when I said that.
Huh? What bullshit is that?
The moment I became suspicious, I immediately had an investigator to check about you. And they took a lot of photos of you being friendly with a woman who's younger and who works at your company. According to what I heard, you're trying to dump me and bring the young woman into this house, huh? I'm not sure, but probably your mom there suggested that idea to you, didn't she? When I said that, both Lucy and Matthew turned completely pale. Most likely, my hypothesis was right on spot. Both of them were so upset after that they couldn't speak properly. Anyway, I'm divorcing you and moving out of this house. I'll definitely claim for alimony from your affair, Matthew, and I'll also claim compensation for the emotional distress I've suffered due to your abusive harassment from you, Lucy.
Oh no.
Lucy and Matthew were both speechless and slumped to the ground. After that, Jack and I successfully divorced our stupid partners. And I was able to get my ex-husband to pay me a hefty amount of alimony. My ex-husband remarried and was caught trying to use the mistress as a convenient housekeeper and was eventually abandoned by her as well. Because Matthew had an affair at work, word spread very quickly within the company, and apparently he is being treated very coldly by his colleagues. And plus, since he and I went to the same college, our mutual friends have also abandoned him, and he is now living alone paying off his debts. And Lucy, who was also abandoned by Jack, is now living a lonely and poor life alone in a small apartment while working part-time. Since Jack no longer needs to support Lucy, he is living alone at his house, using that money towards hiring a helper. Jack has been working hard on his rehabilitation since then, and at this rate, he may be able to walk with a cane bit by bit. I kept in touch regularly with Jack and sent him words of encouragement. In return, Jack has taught me how to behave like a manager at work, and we have a good relationship even though Matthew and I are divorced. I will use the advice Jack gave me and continue to work hard at my job. It was the right decision for Kim and Jack to cut off that mama's boy and that mother who was overly loving her son. I'm also glad that Kim had Jack, who is very decent compared to Matthew and Lucy. I hope Kim will continue to work hard, and this time I hope that she will meet a much better man for her. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.
My mother-in-law bullies me every time my husband is gone, so I couldn't take it anymore, and as a result.
Mom, what's so important that you wanted to talk to me about?
Oh, Nick, honey, there's something I want you to see, actually. Saying that, my mother-in-law, Alice, smirked and turned on her computer. And then she began to play a video. And upon seeing that video, I began to realize that this was taken at that time, and I thought to myself that Alice had set me up. I couldn't believe that Alice would do such a terrible, horrible thing like this to me.
What the hell is this?
Nick, my husband, turned all pale, and I looked down depressed, thinking that this is the beginning of the end. My name is Fiona, and I am 27 years old, working in a company. I just recently got married to my boyfriend, Nick, who I had been dating for 10 years. I met Nick when I was a sophomore in high school. At the time, I was popular in my class and I dressed in a way that anyone would notice me. Many of the girls I was close to also dressed the same, and my friends and I stood out quite a bit when we were talking in a group. Because of this, jocks and guys from the popular group would be all flirty with us. But guys who were just normal and who didn't really belong into any groups did not even try to get close to me. But Nick was different. I think it all started when we sat next to each other. Nick would say hi to me normally and talk to me. And plus, he wouldn't try to talk to me by joking around like how the jocks would do, or he wouldn't be nosy like how some guys in popular groups would do. Nick would just naturally start a conversation with me. So, in a sense, to me at that time, I thought that he was weird. Also, Nick seemed rather relaxed and is the type of person who adjusts to his surroundings, and he has been like that since high school. I was the type of person who wanted to take charge and control within my own pace, so at first I couldn't really understand Nick's personality. Even when everyone in our team had to leave after school, he did everything he could on his own without complaining to get ready for the school event. Since Nick was like that, many other people asked him to do things, and he also accepted their requests, even though he could have refused them. And I got curious, so I asked him one day. I asked him, "If you don't want to do something, why don't you just say you don't want to do it?" Then, to that, Nick said, "What? What do you mean?" So I asked him, "Aren't you being taken advantage of by everyone?" And to that, he replied, "Oh, I never thought about it like that." I was somewhat taken aback and became increasingly curious about him. When I heard a rumor that Nick liked brunettes better, I immediately dyed my hair to brown. Seeing me dye my hair, my friends around me were surprised. But, well, didn't change the fact that my skirt was still short though. Since then, Nick and I began to get along well more, and I had a feeling that we both had mutual feelings for each other. And it was on Valentine's Day that we officially began to go out. Nick had told me shyly that he wanted to eat the chocolate I make on Valentine's Day. So, to tease him, I replied saying, "Okay, I'll make it for everyone in the class." I wondered how Nick would respond to that, but he looked straight at me and said, "No, I want you to make it just for me." He then went on to confess his feelings to me and had asked me to go out with him. When he asked me out, I was so thrilled and excited that my heart felt like it was going to explode. I was very happy and immediately said yes to him. Nick and I have been in love ever since, and after graduating from high school, we both started to work and began living together. Since we both worked, we shared and balanced the house chores without any issues. Then, after 10 years of dating, we finally got married. Since we had lived together for a long time, I thought getting married to him isn't something that new, but I was still somewhat excited to have a newly wedded life. I was excited to start a married life with Nick, and when I saw that my last name had changed, I realized that I was actually married. My husband is as kind as ever, and I feel at ease when I am with him. I am really happy to be married to Nick, but recently, there seems to be a little problem. And that was my mother-in-law, Alice.
You're late.
Oh, Alice? What's wrong? How long were you planning to make me wait over here? It's too cold that I thought I was going to freeze to death.
Let me in your house quickly.
All right. Alice would often come over to our house without giving any prior notice. She starts shouting at me in front of the house, which always makes me nervous that the neighbors might hear Alice screaming. And when I let her in, she would immediately complain. "Well, what a dusty room. You let Nick live in a dirty, dusty place like this? I'm sorry. It is my husband's responsibility to clean the rooms. But if I tell her that, she might say that she wouldn't want my husband to do the house chores. Well, anyways, make me a tea, will you? As soon as she said that, I served the tea to her. Ugh! What is this? It tastes disgusting. Huh? You can't even brew a tea properly? Wow, you really are useless, Fiona. Hurry up and bring snacks that goes with the tea. I had no choice but to put out some candies I had at home. Huh? Candies? Are you kidding me? Well, I've got no choice here. I didn't know you were coming, Alice, so this is all what we have at home. My goodness. Normally, you would have at least some cookies in stock at your house just in case I might come over, right? You really are an inconsiderate, useless wife. Then, saying that, Alice would just say whatever she wants every single time and leaves the house. I thought she was coming to see my husband, but she always leaves right before he comes home. And she doesn't come only when my husband is at home on his day offs. But I gradually came to understand Alice's intention. In other words, she just wants to bully me. Since she can't do that in front of Nick, she just comes over when I'm alone at home and bullies me and complains to me a lot, then leaves after she feels refreshed. I couldn't really discuss this issue with my husband. I am sure my husband would immediately warn about it to his own mother once I consult him of the issue. But I couldn't really imagine what Alice would do to get back at me after that. So I couldn't talk to my husband about it because I didn't want this to become an even more of a huge hassle than it already was. But for the time being, I told my husband each time Alice came to visit. Alice came over today too.
Oh, I see. Did she need something?
No, nothing in particular. She just had tea and left.
Oh, I see. Well, my mom is always praising you, Fiona. She must really like you.
Oh, is that so? To my surprise, Alice was saying good things about me and praising me in front of Nick. By doing so, I guess she took measures so that my husband would not believe me even if I told on her about her actions toward me. How terrible and rude can she be? I wonder what's so fun in bullying a person like that. In any case, her bullying did not stop and it continued. Alice, who never got tired of it, came to our house about 3 times a week, abuses me as much as she likes, and leaves with a look of triumph on her face. I was getting more and more stressed out about it. I became very depressed on my way home from work, wondering if Alice would be there today or not. Why should I even be so nervous just to go home to my own house? This state of mind continued, and I finally had enough and couldn't take it anymore. One day, when Alice came over as usual, I had to work a little longer than usual, so I came home a little later. Then, I saw Alice waiting for me with a really angry look on her face. You came home late on purpose, didn't you? No, that's not it. I have to quickly go make dinner, so can you please just go home for today? Huh? How dare you order me around? Just hurry up and let me in your house. As expected, I couldn't have an argument with Alice right in front of the porch, so I let her in anyway. Then I started to cook dinner by just ignoring Alice, but she started nagging at me from the side. Hey, you're supposed to make me a tea first. What a useless wife who never learns. I feel sorry for Nick for having to deal with you as his wife. I think I must have been getting quite frustrated and irritated by Alice at that point. At that moment, my frustration exploded as if a dam had broke. That's it. I've had enough. What is it with you every time? I mean, how much free time do you even have? I'm busy over here doing all the house chores and all. I don't have the time or energy to deal with someone who is as bored as you, Alice. You're not at all any help, and since you're making things worse, could you just please leave? Fiona, why are you saying such terrible things? I'm doing this and saying this for your sake. Then, can't you be at least a little nicer to me? What you are doing is just bullying me. Don't tell me it's for my own good or some other stupid blatant lie. I cannot ever trust you anymore. Please, just go home. And with that, Alice ran away all scared. I was absent-minded after that for a while, trying to process what had happened. And just as I realized that about an hour had passed since then, my husband came home.
I'm home.
Oh, welcome home. I'm sorry, I'm still not done with dinner yet.
Oh, is that so? You worked late today?
Yeah, a little bit.
Honey, what's wrong? Did something happen?
Huh? Oh, it's nothing really. I got really tired because of overtime, you know.
I see. Then, let's go out to eat today.
Huh?
Let's go out to a steakhouse. Steakhouse! You get energized if you eat some meat, especially when you're tired.
My husband said that and took me out for a steak. It was a nice change of pace, and it did cheer me up a little. My husband is still the same wonderful man he always was. A week later, my husband and I were suddenly summoned by Alice. We wondered what was going on, but she insisted that we go over, so we headed for my parents-in-law's house. Oh, thank you for coming all the way over here. Well, do come in. My father-in-law was on a business trip and was not home at the time.
Mom, what's so important that you wanted to talk to me about?
Oh, Nick, honey, there's something I want you to see, actually. Saying that, my mother-in-law Alice smirked and turned on her computer. And then she began to play a video. And upon seeing that video, I began to realize that this was taken at that time. It was a recorded video of that time when I was yelling at Alice. It seems like Alice took the video from her phone, which was on the dinner table. Did she actually record the video secretly without me knowing that she was recording? In the video, I saw myself yelling at Alice really angrily. What's worse is that the part where I was telling her to stop bullying me were all edited out of the video, and it's just me being hysterical and abusive to Alice, and her being shocked and saddened by me yelling at her. If anybody sees this video without any context, it would seem as if I was harassing and abusing Alice. And I thought to myself that Alice had set me up. I couldn't believe that Alice would do such a terrible, horrible thing like this to me.
What the hell is this?
Nick, my husband, turned all pale. And I looked down depressed, thinking that this is the beginning of the end. Oh, Nick, honey, this is who Fiona actually is. You should divorce people like her.
Fiona, you...
Oh, is this how it's going to end? Our peaceful married life is going to end like this? Then my husband came right in front of me and suddenly took both of my hands.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for not being able to notice about anything.
Huh?
I had no idea that you were suffering that much. I'm not even qualified to be your husband, honey.
Hey, Nick, what are you even saying? I'm the victim here. She's the one who has been bullying and abusing me.
No, Fiona is not the person who would do such thing. She's very kind and she's an honest person. The only time Fiona gets angry is when someone does something terrible to her. That means you've been doing terrible things to Fiona, right, Mom?
What are you talking about? There's no way that I'd do such things to her.
Well, Fiona, what about it? Let me hear the truth.
I was being harassed by your mother for a long time. Alice would come over just at the right time when you weren't around, Nick, and she would verbally abuse me as much as she wanted and then just leave. And that video was the day where everything I had been holding back just exploded. And by then, I was just sobbing and crying with tears coming down my face.
Fiona, thank you for telling me the truth. I won't let you go through any pain ever again.
Thank you. Hey, Nick, you're being tricked by Fiona, you know.
Mom, that's enough. I can't trust you anymore, Mom. From now on, I'm going to cut ties with you, Mom.
No way.
And about what happened now, I will make sure to tell Father about it. Don't you ever show your face in front of us again.
Oh, no. Alice was so shocked that she fell to her knees. My husband pulled me by the arm and took me home.
Oh, Fiona, I'm so sorry.
No, I was glad you were on my side. I was also happy when you were saying good things about my personality.
What are you talking about? Fiona, you had a kind, straight, and wonderful personality from the very beginning, ever since we met.
Huh?
I love you, Fiona, for who you are.
Wasn't it because I changed my hair color and dressed more normally?
Huh? Oh, no way. I was attracted with your personality and with how you were. Besides, even if you had blonde hair or brown hair, you were still really cute to me.
My husband says shyly like that. I just couldn't help but adore him more and love him more and more. I'm really glad I married Nick. After that, after hearing what happened, my father-in-law gave a huge lecture to Alice, and he had told Alice to work if she has that much time in the world to bully me, and now she is forced to work part-time at a supermarket. But since she had been a housewife all her life, she was slow at learning her job, and she comes home exhausted after being yelled by the manager every single day. Well, Alice deserves what she got. Meanwhile, my husband and I moved out so that Alice would not come over again. Free from the stress caused by Alice, I finally became pregnant and had a baby. Now our family of 3 is living happily every day together. Is it even that fun for a mother-in-law to bully a wife? I mean, after you bully someone, don't you feel guilty at all? Well, I guess not, because Alice doesn't seem to have any normal senses. But still, how could such a wonderful son be born from such a person like Alice? I wonder if his personality is also like his father. I wish I could meet a man like Fiona's husband. At any rate, I hope that Fiona and her family can continue to live happily. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.
My husband uses the money which I gave for my mother-in-law on his own, without our permission. As a result,
Melissa? Yes, what is it, Cindy? To be honest, it's actually really difficult for me to say this to you, but you know, I don't even have enough money to support myself. Okay. So, I'm really sorry, but can I stop with giving you the financial support? Huh? Financial support? I live on the pension and I can't really afford to give you any financial support. What do you mean by giving me the financial support? Huh? My name is Melissa, and I am 30 years old, working in a company. I met my husband Caleb through a singles party, and we just got married a year ago. My husband is a kind and funny man, although he can get a little carried away sometimes. And the reason I decided to marry my husband is that because he is very family-oriented.
I want to make sure to look after and reassure my mom. She's getting old, and I'm worried about her, you know. I want to take care of her as much as I can.
When we were dating, I heard my husband talking like that about his mother, and I thought he was a wonderful person. Later, I met my mother-in-law, Cindy, for the first time to inform her about our marriage, and she was a very nice person.
Oh, Melissa, thank you so much for accepting Caleb as your husband and being a wife to him. You're such a lovely and nice girl, and you're too good to be with Caleb. Even after Caleb and I got married, Cindy never changed her attitude and treated me kindly. I know it must be hard to do all the house chores while working. Melissa, you can always count on me, you know. Thank you very much, Cindy. You often hear a lot of talks on TVs and radios about issues between the wife and her mother-in-law, but there's no such problem with Cindy and I have never once been mistreated by Cindy. Rather, she takes care of me like her own real daughter. But a little while after we got married, there was something that bothered me a little. It was not about Cindy, but it was about my husband.
I'm exhausted today, so let's go to my mom's and have dinner.
What? Today is your turn to cook dinner, right?
So, I'm saying that I'm exhausted from work and don't want to do anything, so let's go to my mom's.
But won't that be a hassle for Cindy if we go so suddenly without any prior notice?
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about that. Mom must be lonely too, so it'll be nice for her too to have us over and have a lively dinner all together.
Cindy had lost her husband 3 years ago, and now she lives alone in their house. Her house is a bit large for one person to live alone, and she could certainly get lonely. But isn't it too rude to just visit Cindy out of the blue without saying anything? If it were just my husband, it would be enough, but even I would be intruding Cindy. And if we were going to have dinner with Cindy, she would need to make some preparations. How can my husband even think that it's normal to think that we can go over to Cindy's without any prior notice? Even if we go, we should at least call Cindy to let her know.
What? We don't really have to do that, you know. We're just going back to my parents' house.
To you, it may be that, but to me, I feel like I'm intruding. We have to at least be mindful to Cindy and have manners. When I persisted, my husband said,
Okay.
And while looking really lazy, he picked up the phone and began to call Cindy.
Mom said we could go.
Are you really sure? I really hope she's not just saying that.
Come on, Mom says it's okay, so why not? I think you're worrying too much, honey.
There was no point in wasting any more time arguing with Caleb, so we headed to Cindy's house anyway. Oh, welcome you two. Thank you for coming all the way down here. My mother-in-law greeted us with a huge, gentle smile despite our sudden visit. Well then, hurry up and do come in. I just got it ready now, so please do enjoy it before the meal gets cold. Huh? You cooked that much? Cindy had made several dishes for us and served them to us. When I heard that you two were both coming, I got really enthusiastic, you know.
See, I told you. Mom is really happy that we both came here today.
Even if that is true, it is too inconsiderate of Caleb to even say that in front of her. My husband opened a beer without any hesitation, drank it down, and ate what Cindy had cooked. Well, I'll have some of the dishes you cooked, Cindy. Thank you. No, please do eat a lot. How do you like it? Oh, it's very delicious. How did you make it? Oh, I'm so happy then. Next time, I'll teach you how to cook this. Yay, thank you so much. Because Cindy was always kind, both Caleb and I were able to have dinner that day in a peaceful way. But a few days later, my husband suggested once again that we should go back to Cindy's house for dinner. We went there just the other day. So that's just too much. It'll be a huge hassle.
No, it's fine. I've already called her about it in advance this time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I called Mom yesterday.
Oh, so you were already planning to skip cooking today too?
Oh, don't say it like that, honey. I did do my part in preparing the meal, haven't I?
No, Cindy is the one who is preparing the meal. So practically, you didn't do anything.
So, I'm the one who asked my mom to cook for us today, right? So that means that even though I'm in charge of cooking, making sure that the meal for us is ready is part of my responsibility too, right?
I don't know what the hell Caleb was talking about. Even though Caleb was saying something nonsense, since Cindy had already prepared the meal, I had no choice but to go along with him. Cindy, I'm sorry for disturbing you again when we just came the other day. Oh, what are you talking about? I told you that you can count on me anytime, didn't I? If you're in trouble, don't hesitate to ask me anything, okay? Well, it's not like we're really in any trouble. It's just that my husband is slacking off in cooking and doing house chores, and that's why he's only relying on Cindy for her meals. Thinking like that, I felt very sorry for Cindy. Since then, upon my husband's suggestion, we always went to Cindy's place to ask her to feed us on the days when he was in charge of cooking. Despite that, Cindy always greeted us with a smile and cooked us delicious home-cooked meals. But I felt really bad to ask Cindy to help us out without us doing anything so many times, and that's pretty questionable being adults and all. So, I made a suggestion to my husband. Hey, I'm not going to tell you to stop going to Cindy's, but I think we should at least thank her for cooking meals for us.
Huh? Like what?
I think we should give Cindy some financial support for food, since she's taken care of us so much.
I don't think Mom really cares much about that, though.
No, but I still feel bad. I'll give you some money every month from my salary, so will you give it to Cindy for me? If I give the money directly to Cindy, I am sure that she would be too careful and would not accept it because she's a very kind person like that. So I thought it would be better to give it to her from my husband, who is her son. My husband's eyes widened in surprise, but he said,
Well, if you insist that much, then I understand. I'll take responsibility and give it to Mom.
I was relieved that I could now repay Cindy a little in this way. After that, we continued to eat dinner at Cindy's house, and my husband would say this:
We're eating at Mom's place.
as if it was a normal thing now. We had dinner at Cindy's house about twice a week, and before I knew it, 3 months had passed. Of course, I felt a little bad, but since I know that I also gave Cindy some financial support, maybe I was thinking in a spoiled way. Then, I learned about a shocking fact. It was after dinner one day at Cindy's house.
Whew, I ate very well.
Saying that, my husband had finished eating and was relaxing on the sofa watching TV. I was washing dishes and cleaning up with Cindy. Then, Cindy started talking to me with an awkward look on her face. Melissa? Yes, what is it, Cindy? To be honest, it's actually really difficult for me to say this to you, but, I don't even have enough money to support myself. Okay. So, I'm really, really sorry, but can I stop with giving you the financial support? Huh? Financial support? I live on pension and I can't really afford to give you any financial support. What do you mean by giving me the financial support? Huh? Well, like I cook you both meals regularly and how I'm giving you financial support regularly. What? I understand that you and Caleb are in trouble, but as you can imagine, I'm starting to feel a little desperate too. Hey, wait a minute. I don't know anything about you giving us financial support. What? Besides, I am giving you financial support every month, aren't I? Huh? I felt bad about you having to take care of us so many times, cooking us amazing meals, so I gave Caleb some money to give to you, Cindy. I haven't received anything from Caleb. What? Then both Cindy and I had realized something. There is only one person we could think of. I had never been pissed off like this ever before. Then I immediately went over to Caleb, who was lying on the sofa. Hey, Caleb! What is the meaning of this?
What? What is it?
My husband seemed to be drunk and he was giggling around. What do you mean, what is it?
What's wrong with you? Shouting at me like that. Did you have an argument with Mom?
I grabbed my husband, who was lying down by his chest, and woke him up.
What is it with you all of a sudden?
We've been getting financial support from Cindy?
What?
And where did you put the money I asked you to give to Cindy?
Well, that's...
My husband is just clamming up, upset, as if he has something to be guilty of.
Just let go of me for now. I feel like I'm going to throw up if you shake me too much.
So I let go of his chest. Will you please explain what exactly is going on?
About what?
Are you trying to act dumb at this point? Cindy seemed to have lost her patience, and she also began questioning Caleb. You told me that you were both in trouble, so I gave you money and even fed you dinner multiple times.
Hey, what the hell? What's wrong with you? Even you're mad at me, Mom.
We have every right to be mad at you. You have been deceiving Cindy and I,
That's a terrible way to say that.
Then, where did our money go to?
Hey, let's just stop talking about this. We just had Mom's delicious food and now you're spoiling the good mood.
And whose fault is it?
That's...
My husband couldn't say anything back anymore and went silent. You're not going to tell me how you spent the money, are you? All right, fine. Then I have an idea too. Caleb looked at me as if he was asking me what my idea was. I called my sister-in-law, Lila. Lila is very protective of me and takes care of me really well, and my husband is very weak towards Lila. Lila is a strong-willed, independent woman, and when my husband, who has always been a good guy, would get carried away, she makes sure to set things straight for Caleb. When I called Lila and explained the situation quickly, she said she would be here soon. When my husband found out that Lila was coming over, his face turned really pale. Lila lives about a 10-minute drive from Cindy's house, so she came right over. Caleb! What the hell did you do? What did you do with Mom and Melissa's money?
That's...
My husband stubbornly refused to talk even after Lila arrived. This is going to be a long battle. Melissa, you can go home for today. I'll interrogate him all night and make him talk. Thank you very much. I'll be waiting for your update. So, I took Lila's word for it and decided to go home first. The next day, when I went to work as usual, I received a message from Lila. Caleb finally came clean. He's a terrible bastard. Can you come over to Mom's house again after work today? I wondered what it was. I wondered what Caleb did which made Lila describe him like that. So, I went to Cindy's house after work. My husband and Lila was already there. Oh, Melissa, I'm sorry to make you come over again. It's okay. My husband was made to sit on the floor, and his face was turning pale by the minute. Well then, Caleb, why don't you talk to Melissa properly about the truth? I stood right in front of my husband to listen. He was looking down at himself really awkwardly. I can't really understand you if you keep looking down. Please explain to me what's going on.
I'm so sorry. It was just a spur of the moment kind of thing.
What was?
Well, I had an affair with another woman.
Huh?
I'm really sorry.
So you were cheating on me behind my back?
I guess so.
You're such a bastard.
I'm really sorry.
And? What did you use the money on which Cindy and I gave you? Answer me properly.
For the trip and the date and the hotels for the affair. And the travel fees.
What? A trip? How did you even have the time? Oh. Don't tell me that you're talking about these business trips that you've been having frequently. My husband then nods awkwardly. Wow, I can't believe this. I can't believe that you lied about your job and went on a trip with a woman to have fun.
I'm really sorry. It won't happen again, so please forgive me.
Oh, there is no way that I will forgive you. We're getting a divorce. A divorce!
No way. You can't just divorce me. It was a one-time mistake.
Then, before I could get mad at Caleb for what he said, Lila and Cindy snapped. That's enough, Caleb. What you did is absolutely unforgivable. Yeah, that's right. And what do you mean it was just a one-time mistake? When you've been on numerous trips and you've been seeing her secretly many times. Divorce is a must. A wonderful person like Melissa shouldn't be pushed around by such a lousy brother like you, Caleb. You will definitely pay alimony for your affair and the money you stole from Mom and Melissa.
Oh no.
Then, Lila took out the official documents for divorce and handed them to me. She thought that I would need it, so she got it for me at the city hall, as well as a number for a lawyer. I checked the documents and signed the parts I needed to sign and gave it to Caleb. My husband was reluctant, but Lila and Cindy got angry with him again, so he signed it right away. Thus, like this, my divorce from my husband was finalized. Then, through my lawyer, I demanded alimony from Caleb and his mistress. Of course, I also claimed the money I had given to Caleb. I also heard that his mistress was also married, and since her husband is also demanding alimony from Caleb, he is now in huge debt. Currently, Caleb is living at Cindy's house, and both Lila and Cindy manages Caleb's wallet, making sure that he does not waste his money and that it is always used to pay off his debts. Because of this, Caleb only gets $10 every day to go to work, and once he uses the money for his lunch and so on, he won't have any money left, so he can't even go to bars and afford any luxury, and he has no choice but to go home. Caleb deserves what he got, and it's not at all surprising that he now has to pay back the money he had used when it wasn't even his money. Caleb is just a low-life scumbag having an affair based off on other people's money. On the other hand, I live in an apartment now and I am living comfortably on my own. By the way, I still keep in touch with Cindy and Lila, and the three of us sometimes go out to dinner together. My ex-husband is a low-life scumbag, but the only thing I'm grateful to him is for giving me the opportunity to meet Cindy and Lila. Thank you for watching until the end. Please subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in our next video.
One day, I got the call that my husband had been in an accident. What shocked me more than the accident itself was finding out that his mistress had been in the car with him. The mistress died, and my husband ended up paralyzed. Amidst all this, he had the nerve to ask me to take care of him for the rest of my life because of a mistake he made while cheating. No way, I thought to myself. Just you wait. My name is Rachel, 32 years old. I live with my husband Jeff and our almost 5-year-old daughter Lindsay. I had left my job when I got pregnant, but went back to work when she started preschool. Life is hectic with work and childcare, but I've been managing and feeling fulfilled, all thanks to Jeff. He's been working hard and taking great care of Lindsay, doing his best as a husband, a father, and the head of our household. Eating dinner and listening to her stories after getting home early has become a daily routine for us.
Hey, Daddy, listen. I drew a picture at preschool today.
Is that so? I know you're a great artist, sweetheart. Draw me next time, will you?
Okay. And guess what? Tiffany said they went to an amusement park. I want to go too.
An amusement park, huh? Well, how about we go on our next day off?
Yay! I love you, Daddy.
And I love you too, kiddo. Well, right after Mommy, that is.
He said, winking at me. She puffed her cheeks out like she was upset. These ordinary moments with my family are my greatest treasure. I started to notice a change in Jeff, though. He began coming home late and leaving early on weekends. At first, I thought it might be a coincidence, but the suspicious behavior was too frequent. So I decided to confront him. Hey, honey, you've been coming home late. Busy at work?
Yeah, new projects and stuff.
I see. But you also rush out early in your days off without telling me where you're going.
That's because I've been visiting my,
Who?
My parents. Just checking if they're okay.
Oh, your parents? It's true they're not young anymore. But it seemed odd because we usually visit his parents together every few months, and they've been in good health. Why has he been visiting them so often recently? Despite my doubts, I didn't push the issue any further that day. 2 weeks later, Jeff texted that he'd be late again due to work. He didn't get home until past midnight, but something about him was off. What have you been up to?
I told you, I was working late.
Then why do I smell perfume on you?
Perfume?
Yes, a woman's perfume. How come you smell like that if you were just working?
Oh, well...
He shifted his gaze. It was obvious he was flustered. Just when I tried to press him more, he blurted out.
Well, there was a dinner with a client.
A dinner? He nodded repeatedly.
Yeah. The client was a woman. You know how scents can transfer.
Then why didn't you just say so? There was no need to lie about working late.
I felt bad knowing you were home taking care of everything. Sorry for worrying you. I didn't mean to lie.
I couldn't press him further, especially since I had work the next day, so we left it at that. But from then on, I noticed the scent of woman's perfume on him whenever he came home late. He always had the same excuse.
I had a dinner meeting.
My suspicions grew. Then one day, I decided to leave Lindsay and my parents and meet up with my sister Christine. As soon as we sat down in a cafe, I brought up my concerns about Jeff. Lately, he's been coming home late and I smell women's perfume on him. Sounds like he's cheating. Yeah, I thought so too. She nodded, looking me straight in the eye. I had my suspicions, but hearing it from someone else definitely made my doubts stronger. He's cheating on me, isn't he? First off, he must have been close enough to her to get her perfume on him. Right. Sis, I know it's hard with Lindsay and everything, but you should really talk to Jeff. I think so too. Suddenly she said, "Hey, look." What? What's wrong? Speak of the devil. Isn't that Jeff? Where? I looked where she was pointing and I saw my husband with a younger woman, her arm tightly wrapped around his. I was speechless at the cruel scene before me while my sister started taking photos with her phone. Oh, what are you doing? Don't just sit there. We need evidence. Huh? Just get your phone out. I'll take pictures and you get a video. Urged by her, I shakily launched the camera app on my phone. My husband and his mistress were arm in arm, getting into the car and kissing repeatedly inside. I captured every moment of this on video. After the car drove off, I stopped recording, holding in my hands the proof of my husband's infidelity. Tears began to fall as I sat in the cafe, momentarily forgetting where I was. My sister, after a moment of silence, firmly said, "Sis, I know it's hard, but you need to have a serious talk with him." I know, I do, but... This is also for Lindsay's sake. Can you really let a man who lies and cheats so easily remain a father? For Lindsay... Her words snapped me back to reality. Right, I'm the only one who can protect her. He is her father, but I need to resolve this quickly. Now that I know about his actions, he doesn't deserve to be a father. After discussing with my sister, we decided to let my daughter stay with my parents for the night. I waited for my husband to come home, but he never did. Then after 10 p.m., our rarely used landline rang. Puzzled, I answered it to hear a man's voice.
Is this the Gray residence?
Yes. Who is this?
The police. I'm calling about Jeff Gray, your husband.
Oh. Is my husband in trouble?
I'm going to tell you something, but I need you to remain calm. Your husband has been in an accident.
What? According to the police, he had crashed while driving, and the woman in the passenger seat died. He was taken to the local hospital. I rushed to the hospital immediately. There I learned he was in surgery in the emergency room. A police officer approached and explained the situation.
It seems that your husband and the deceased woman had a close relationship.
I see, I replied dully. Then the officer looked puzzled and asked,
Did you have any suspicions?
Yes, I just gathered evidence of his affair today.
Is that so? Well, this is difficult to say, but the accident may leave him with some disabilities.
That's enough. The conversation with the police also revealed that the woman involved in the affair was married. The woman's husband, who had arrived at the scene, looked visibly upset, conflicted by the fact that Jeff was the only survivor. A few days later, my husband regained consciousness for the first time since the accident. Upon receiving the call, I went to the hospital with my parents, sister, and daughter. Leaving my daughter with my sister, only my parents and I entered his room, where we found my in-laws already there. As explained, Jeff had suffered paralysis on one side of his body due to the accident.
Sorry. I seem to have caused you all a lot of worry,
he said, looking sorry. Before I could reply, his parents rushed to his bedside.
What are you apologizing for? It's a miracle you're alive. Just being alive is a win.
That's right, Jeff. You've always been a good man, and that's why you've been spared. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I'm really glad I made it,
he said, as if the affair never happened. My worry turned to anger, and I finally spoke up. Sorry to break up the happy moment, but Jeff, I want a divorce.
Huh?
Here, I've brought the divorce papers. Can you sign them?
Divorce? What are you talking about all of a sudden?
All of a sudden? You had an accident with your mistress, and you're asking me that?
No, it's not like that. The woman was just a colleague, not my mistress.
He started to spew desperate lies. Did he think he could hide the truth from me? I confronted him with the facts. Still trying to deny it? I already know about your affair.
I'm telling you I didn't cheat.
You were at a cafe with her during the day before the accident. I saw you two get into the car together.
No, that's not...
No excuses. I raised my voice, forgetting I was in a hospital room. You gave up your time with Lindsay to see your mistress. What were you thinking? My mother-in-law intervened with a scowl.
What are you so angry about, Rachel? If he cheated, it must be your fault.
What? Do you hear yourself?
Jeff just regained consciousness. Besides, you heard from the doctor, right? He's paralyzed now.
And what does that have to do with our divorce?
You'll need to dedicate yourself to his care now. If you have time to talk about divorce, you should be studying how to care for him.
Exactly,
he agreed, taking her side.
You're going to be the one to take care of me as my wife.
That was the moment any sympathy I had left for him vanished instantly. Initially, I did feel sorry for him getting into an accident, even though he had cheated to end up paralyzed. But now I couldn't care less. They didn't feel a shred of guilt towards me, only concerned about their own future. Holding back my urge to yell, I addressed my mother-in-law. Are you serious? Who would willingly take care of a cheating fool?
A cheating fool? How dare you speak about my son like that?
Well, it's the truth. He cheated, caused an accident, all his own doing.
But even if the accident was his fault, the cheating was caused by...
So it's my fault he cheated? Despite working hard for our family, juggling jobs, childcare, and household chores, it's still my fault? And you still defend your son?
Oh, well, that's...
Her voice faded as I stood my ground firmly. Seeing her falter, my husband yelled at me.
How can you say such things to my mother?
As if he thought he was the most important person here, glaring at me. I confronted him, towering over him with pressure. He mumbled fearfully.
What do you want?
Have you gone completely out of your mind? Who do you think caused all this?
Well...
It's your fault for betraying our family and cheating. How stupid can you be having an accident with your mistress? You're truly an idiot.
What did you say? This mess started because you suddenly wanted a divorce.
Even now, he felt no guilt. Disgusted, I spat out. Enough with your nonsense, jerk. How far will you go blaming others? It's clearly your fault for cheating. And to cause an accident that took away the life of your mistress, you have no effing right to justify yourself.
Rachel?
You've destroyed our family with your careless affair. Do you realize how much this will affect our daughter? You've hurt not just me, but her too. I can't stay married to a scumbag like you. Go to hell, you miserable jerk. As I finished, he was speechless, turning pale. While I was catching my breath, the door opened and my daughter walked in.
Lindsay, why are you here?
Sorry, sis. I looked away for a moment and My sister followed, apologizing. Seizing the opportunity, my husband turned to our daughter.
Lindsay, you don't want us to be apart, right?
What do you mean?
You wouldn't like it if Mommy and Daddy were separated, right?
After pondering, she declared,
I just need Mommy.
At her words, he let out a dumbfounded,
Huh?
Because Mommy looks sad when she's with you, Daddy. You're doing something to make her sad, right?
Well, that's,
I don't like a daddy that makes Mommy sad. I don't need you, Daddy. I want to be with Mommy.
No.
He was speechless at her words. Without further words, he lay back, deflated. I presented the divorce papers again, and he signed them resignedly. Later, I sought legal counsel for compensation for his infidelity and child support. The affair had costly consequences for him, including a significant settlement demanded by the mistress's husband. His affair, especially with a junior from his company, led to his dismissal. It wasn't just an affair. He took a woman's life, so it's only natural he faces the consequences. His double compensation drained his savings, and now he's living in a cramped apartment with his parents who care for their wheelchair-bound son daily. Meanwhile, considering my daughter's mental well-being, she and I decided to stay with my parents for a while, planning to live on our own again once things settled. On the way to daycare, I finally asked what had been bothering me. Lindsay, are you really okay?
With what?
With Daddy not being around. Is it really okay for it to be just you and me? She smiled brightly and said,
I love Mommy the most. I hate anyone who makes Mommy sad.
Is that so? I love you very much too, sweetie. She hugged me tightly, and I hugged her back, promising to protect her with my life.